Correspondence.
Yes, we did receive one correspondence from a parent who was not able to attend the principal's search focus group and had provided some feedback on her opinions of which direction to go for that.
Public comment. No. Okay. Next up, we have the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the consent?
Move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
A second. Any extractions? Anyone want anything pulled from it? I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor of the consent agenda as presented? Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have a PTO update.
So the PTO, my understanding is, unless there's somebody in the audience for PTO, that they were going to try to email. Marcia, I haven't received anything from them. You probably haven't either.
I did not.
So they were going to email their notes to us as opposed to sending someone in person. But I don't think we've received anything for this evening's meeting.
Okay. All right. Then next on the agenda is the ad hoc budget task force committee report. Do you want to give that now?
Mr. Pulo is going to provide that to us.
Thank you. So to give you a recap, the committee met approximately 3 times. Committee of about 13 members comprised of school staff, administration, parent representatives, Board of Education members. A lot of good collective open discussion at the table. Some ideas and concepts discussed were continued looking into class sizes and effects of student-teacher ratios and outcomes thereof. Discussion also about long-term shared services and continuing the exploration of a lot of initiatives that are already in place, such as special education sharing of services with Amity. Also continuing to look at shared services in other roles with neighboring districts such as Bethany and Orange as well. Conversations went on beyond the local level, also include the impact of state level, collective bargaining pension effects being shared from the state down to the local level, and what those potential outcomes look like in current and future budgets as well. So overall, again, very rich discussion. The report is included in your packet, and the initiatives identified were stratified in short-term, mid-range, and long-term, meaning initiatives that can be implemented as early as included in the FY21 budget. There were such things as conserving on paper and continuing to build on the green initiative in areas like parent communications, parent consent forms, consolidating the number of correspondence that goes home to parents in at least the written format, really expanding upon electronic communication in those areas. So again, we stratified it in those 3 areas, and if we all total the recommended potential savings for as early as FY21, we're looking in the range of $4,000 to $10,000 approximately in savings from initiatives presented and discussed by the committee.
There was considerable interest and time spent by the committee on cost sharing with Bethany, another small district, and to see whether there might be some opportunities there that might be larger than 4,000 to 10,000 in savings.
So if we wanted to continue the conversation about combining services with Bethany, and we did our regionalization meeting like a few months ago, and they said that we can develop a contract with them to share services. How would we go ahead by starting to have a conversation with them about possible staff or services that we could combine underneath one of those mutual shared service agreements?
I'm glad to answer. So I think what it could be as simple as the Board of Education of Woodbridge send a letter to the Bethany board chair and says, we'd like to sit down and discuss shared services more. It could be done as simply as that. It also could be done through the process or the mechanism of the regionalization conversation that's going on right now and how that may play out. So I think it has to be done in somewhat of a formal way. I think also what has to be recognized is that there are contracts in place. So if there's a contract that's in place for X number of months or X number of years, then that contract has to live itself out before a change might happen. Is that answering your question, Dan? Is in terms
Yeah,
of how you
so-
get in terms of how you get there, or
What is your next step? If you wanted to consider that, because another example is like we have special ed. One of the examples I was given was that we have special ed needs. Possibly they have staff and we have staff, and maybe we could come up with some kind of shared system where we're sharing those resources. Or, Al's a very talented guy. Maybe they would love to use his services. So, something like that nature where everyone benefits from. So I guess it sounds like Steve would send a letter to them saying, we'd like to have a conversation with you. And does their budget, I know our election cycles go the same. Do their budget cycles go the same with ours? Are they
all education budgets in the state start on July 1st and go through June 30th.
Okay.
So
they're in the same kind of position we are, and so any kind of potential savings that we both could yield would benefit both of us at the same time.
So if, I guess there were enough of us to support
Yep, so
something like that,
you want to make a motion to the extent that we,
I'd make a motion that we reach out to the Bethany
Board of
chair, Board of Ed chair, to explore cost-sharing opportunities.
Have a joint meeting.
Yeah, to have a joint meeting.
okay. Is there a second?
I second.
Discussion? All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. That's easy. All right, we'll make that happen. Anything else out of the ad hoc budget committee? And I would just say that I think, all the things on this list should probably kind of make their way at regular finance committee meetings, just to kind of, keep them so that they don't just go away. Yeah.
Several of them in the request that will come forward in December.
Okay, perfect. Any other comments? No? All right. Superintendent's report. Nice to have you back, Bob.
okay, well, it's good to be
Happy to
back.
see you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I have to make up for last meeting when I wasn't here, so my announcements are twice as long. Hopefully not, actually. But I do want to say, and I know we have TV here, so we welcome to our board meeting if you're here in person or whether you're watching via community television. I do have just a few personal notes to say. I just want to say thank you to the board here and our Beecher Road School staff, our parents, students, for so many acts of kindness to me during my recent surgery and recuperation. Cards, emails, texts, phone calls, they all mean more than you may realize. And it definitely is demonstrative of Beecher being a very, very caring community. So thank you to everybody in the room and on television or watching and beyond that. I also want to say thank you to Cheryl Mammon for stepping in on my behalf and being acting superintendent. She is still acting superintendent, even though I am here tonight. I'm not back to full schedule, so just to make sure she's still going through her. But I want to thank Cheryl for picking up these extra responsibilities. And I also want to thank our complete administrative team. And it's a small administrative team, but it's a mighty administrative team that have done other things than they normally do to pick up the responsibilities to make it all work. I've missed a lot of things that went on in the last 5 or 6 weeks. The green team is doing a lot of things. We've had a terrific presentation by Principal Lisa Sherman on our very positive test results, things that I had had a chance to look at before I left. But bottom line is I wish I could have been here for November's meeting, but I know things have been going well. So all in all, it's good to be back, and I look forward to being back on a full schedule on December 2nd. Just a few things, and then I'll pass it on to Principal Lisa Sherman and Cheryl Mammon, Special Ed Director, for a few other BRS updates. But as you know, our principal search is underway. CAPE consultant Mary Broderick has conducted a number of focus groups last week, November 13th. Faculty, staff, elected officials, and community members, stakeholders had an opportunity to complete a survey, which we had, I think, over 100 responses. And so that is good to know.
I'm sorry, is it 100 total, like
no.
parents and teachers?
I forgot the actual number, 155, but I don't know what the breakout is by parents and staff, but 155 were the total responses.
Yeah, it just seemed like it was confusing in the message that went out because it showed the focus group and it showed like you had, people thought it was 4:30 to 7:30, like a 3-hour focus group.
Mhm.
They didn't realize there were separate sessions. And then embedded in all of that near the bottom was the survey link that a lot of people I think would have dismissed because they just thought, oh, I can't make the focus group. So I wonder if that might have contributed to a low.
I think the survey link also went out in Lisa Sherman's weekly.
It did not.
Where did I
Actually,
see it?
it went out separately.
But the survey link was sent out towards the end by the PTO. We thanked them for that. All parents had an opportunity to see it that way. And then I know Marcia sent it out on Friday one last time for staff without any other information. So yeah, so I don't, there's probably some improvements that could have been made to that. But you know, we all know that from our past surveys that you never get 100%, and sometimes you're getting 25%, you're doing well. I'm not sure what the percentage actually plays out to be, but it was about 155 total responses. We do plan on having a first meeting of the actual search committee. It'll be coming up in December. Mary has asked for that, and so our parent representatives, our teacher assistant representatives, CILU, teachers, Board of Ed member representatives, you'll be getting, in fact, I think you got an email today from Marcia saying, you know, here are some dates that we can actually meet with Mary, and so please respond back to Marcia on that. So we will be moving forward, having that meeting in December for organizational purposes, and then getting going in January.
Is that 4 to 5 or 4 to 6?
I would say probably plan from 4 to 5:30 is my guess.
Okay, because the finance meeting is
6
so
o'clock.
we should be fine.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Another item I just wanted to just emphasize, staffing changes in the middle of the year for increased student needs. So this is not a new topic or a new theme, but we do continue to experience an increase in the number of students who need support, whether it's speech, occupational therapy, in academics, social, emotional, and behavior areas. This increase is necessitating us to do some mid-year unbudgeted staff hiring to meet the requirements of individual education programs, plans, if you will, IEPs for the students. And also, these mid-year hirings will also help to continue our goal to maximize classroom safety. And in a few moments, our Special Education Director, Cheryl Mammon, will speak a little bit more about the whole area of what we're doing here and also about classroom safety. We have made some positive changes in this area. We have a way to go. And I know that one of our goals as a board this year is to actually form an ad hoc safety committee. And so my suggestion here, based upon where we are right now, is to look at forming that committee in the new year so we can move forward as originally planned. So Cheryl will fill in a little bit more in her moments, in a few moments. HVAC update on our heating, ventilation, air conditioning. Our vendors, as you know, completed phase 1 of improvements. Phase 2 will be done over the December break. And there's actually a meeting tomorrow after school with our engineers, Van Zelm, and some people from Town Hall, just to kind of make sure we're on the right road to getting all that taken care of properly. Also, the selectmen in town have approved a contract to convert all town buildings, including Beach Road School, to LED lighting. And so that is in process, and that is a good cost-saving measure for all buildings, including ourselves. As you know, the capital budget, as you approved it last month, will be brought to the Board of Selectmen and Finance on December 12th. I'll be presenting that along with a few other staff members, and so we look forward to bringing those needs forward to the town boards. Our operating budget, we have started work on the operating budget for the 2020-21 school year. This work of planning and pruning and determining how we move our budget forward will continue through December. We will have a presentation of the draft budget at our December 9th Finance Subcommittee meeting. And then all of you as board members, and including the public, will see my recommended budget on December 16th at our regular board meeting that night. And I know Al has already spoken about it, but I do want to take this moment to thank all of the members of the ad hoc budget task force who met. Some great ideas were brought forward, some great discussion, some things we've already done before, some things that we can try to do in the future. So I want to thank everybody for being part of a very viable process that took place over the last few months. I'm not going to speak about the election day, professional development day, and Mrs. Sherman will, as well as the Veterans Day special program that we had, so I'll let her do that. I will just mention that tonight we will be looking at our 2020-21 calendar, and we will be looking to get your thoughts about that. I just want to make sure that we are aware that this calendar was developed in collaboration with the other BOA superintendents, Bethany, Orange, Woodbridge, of course, and Amity. And it's our goal here as superintendents and really as boards is to be able to make comments about the calendar during this month. Superintendents will get back together again and share the impressions of the calendars together before the December board meetings, and then in December we would like to be able to move forward with actual action on the actual calendar. I think my last thing I want to mention is that on Friday I was able to attend, thankfully, the Caps Cape annual convention. It was held in Mystic. I was able to at least go for most of the time that day, and I just want to say that Woodbridge Beecher Road School was very well represented at this meeting. I want to thank Megan and Joyce for attending the meeting that day, but also I want to make mention that Steve Fleischman, our chair, was recognized as a tenured board member. And so there was a rounding applause there, Steve. When your name was mentioned, it was just unbelievable. The room was deafened. But congratulations, Steve, on your 10 years. That's quite a mark. And I also want to mention that Beecher was also recognized for several excellence in communication awards at the actual convention. 3 items: our strategic plan, which I presented in May, was recognized, our parent-student handbook, and our school PTO calendar. So congratulations on that. The keynote address was given that day by a very internationally known education consultant, Dr. Derek Gay, who spoke about diversity and inclusion and being aware of the importance of diversity of everyone in the organization, which really is kind of interesting because that does mirror our mission statement of embracing diversity, and our mission statement also talks about celebrating the unique qualities of each person. So it was good to hear him, and I had a chance to go to a policy workshop and a board superintendent budget development workshop, and I'm sure Joyce and Megan had equal enjoyment. That concludes my report, and just an early happy Thanksgiving to everybody as we look at that next week.
Lisa.
I'm going to show you some pictures again. Uncle Farm. There's not very many books. Hello, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I want to actually start, Bob sort of mentioned it very briefly, but I want to start by talking about our November 5th PD Day. We had a really amazing day. We actually started with some wellness activities, which is something that our staff have been requesting. I have a really great video of some teachers doing a dance party, but I promised them I wouldn't show it to them. They also got to pick activities like yoga and basketball and volleyball, and a number of teachers walked the loop. So it was a really nice way to start our day. And then after that, the teachers had some time to work as professional learning communities, and they submitted proposals for the work that they wanted to do. So it was really driven by the work that they felt that they needed as a group. And the work ranged everything from phonics instruction, because we have new phonics units in grades 2. 6th grade spent a lot of time working on capstone. Our tech department worked a lot on our disaster recovery plan. So it was all really focused work on moving our strategic plan forward and just continuing to support our student learners. And then after lunch, we came back together again, and we actually did some work that came directly out of our community diversity committee. we gave the teachers a TED Talk to watch around thinking about the books and the resources that they have within their classrooms. And then we actually gave them a walkthrough sheet to go check out their own rooms. And we came back together as a community and sort of talked about what we are putting forth as educators and the messages that we are sending to our students with the resources and the textbooks that we have and the picture books and the chapter books that we have in our libraries and in our classrooms. So it ended up being a really, really powerful conversation. Then we had our Veterans Day Assembly. It was a really amazing day. You'll see it. You can see the gym is packed. The band did an amazing job, as did the choir. We had a lot of veterans join us. The list at the start of the morning had about maybe 12 names on it, and by the end, when they all came in, we had probably over 50 veterans join us, and it was really wonderful to be able to honor them. Katie McCullum, our 6th grade teacher, once again did her white table presentation, which is just a absolutely moving tribute to veterans. And I had the privilege, this is the first year I've gotten to do it, because it used to be Ms. Prisco's job, but I had the privilege and the honor of going to the VA and delivering a huge pile of Veterans Day cards. I walked in with a big tub, and the nice lady at the desk looked at me and she said, do you mind if I keep the basket? And I was like, absolutely, because it was pretty amazing. It was filled to the top with cards. So that was pretty awesome. Next thing I'm going to share with you, there's our Thanksgiving food drive. The next thing I want to share with you is about World Kindness Day. World Kindness Day was on November 13th. November 13th?
Yeah.
Yep, November 13th.
Every day World Kindness Day.
Sorry?
Is it every day World Kindness Day?
Every day should be World Kindness Day. Absolutely. A lot of activities happened around the building to celebrate this day, and they're sort of trickling out and continuing. We were just talking, actually, somebody is posting really awesome kindness quotes down south. So if you walk that way ever, you'll probably see them. But they're actually, one of the activities that happened was a group of kindergarteners and 3rd graders partnered up to be kindness ninjas, and they made these really awesome bookmarks. You can see their little hands working together. They made these really awesome bookmarks to hide in the library books. There they are. They were being really sneaky. They put their bandanas on, and they were really sneaky ninjas going down the hallway and sticking the bookmarks in the books for other people to find someday. And then another day, some 3rd grade friends made kindness hearts. We do have a kindness tree hanging outside the North office, where as students are doing acts of kindness, they're writing it on a heart, and the heart is getting hung up on the tree, so you can see all of our acts of kindness blooming. So there are some 3rd graders who were showing off some of their hearts. That's the last of the pictures. The last thing that I want to mention, actually it hasn't happened yet, but this Wednesday we're going to be joined by State Representative Themis Claire, I say her name wrong all the time.
Clarity.
Thank you. I always say it wrong. She will be joining us on Wednesday because she actually nominated Beecher for a STEM grant, which we're so excited about. And she's going to be joining us on Wednesday to present this STEM grant to Ms. Minardi and Mr. Crawford and a group of students, and myself and Ms. Mammon will be there, and Ms. Merrill. And we are so lucky because we're going to be able to use this grant to sort of continue the work that we're doing in the STEAM lab and in the technology lab around some of our makerspace work and our 3D printing and our VR goggles. We're going to sort of continue that work. So that's happening on Wednesday, and we're super grateful for that opportunity. Questions?
The white table that you referred to that was moving, what was that exactly?
The white table. So there is a whole, whoops, I lost my Instagram account. There is a whole story around the white table, and actually the WBRS News talked about it too at the end, the part that we didn't watch. But there's a whole story, and every single thing on the table symbolizes something. So, and I apologize, I don't know all the specific things for what each thing symbolizes, but it's really to honor veterans who are prisoners of war who are missing in action, to sort of honor them and to talk about sort of a soldier's journey. But there is a book that goes along with it. The picture book is there, and every single thing on that table symbolizes something related to a veteran's experience. And I apologize that I don't know all of them. I would not want to mislead you and give you wrong information. But if you ever watch the students in Ms. McCollum's class learn the ceremony every year, and they present it, and then they leave the white table up for the day, and it's really a moving experience.
See, that would be a good example of a showcase.
Yes. It's on the news. We can watch that section of the news later on at the end of the meeting if you want. I'll show it to you. And it's on my Instagram. Thank you.
I want to thank Lisa for also initiating the Instagram social media, safe social media communication mechanism because I think what it's done is it's gotten out a lot of good things that we're doing, and it provides that opportunity for people to see that they may have missed, or they, instead of reading about it, you can see pictures about it. So thank you for establishing that.
Using the word initiating, because I think that I pestered him for like
6 months.
6 months maybe before, because I was so excited about it.
Next is Cheryl again. Cheryl.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to be on this side tonight. I just wanted to give some history and background. Last year, we added a classroom to provide social emotional support for some of our upper grade students. And this current year, we added a classroom that provided both discrete trial instruction, which is very specialized instruction for students who need that, as well as some social emotional instruction within one classroom. As the year has progressed, our needs have increased, the student needs have increased, especially in the area of social emotional learning. So what we're looking to do very shortly is separating the two classes, just like we have up on the upper grades, and doing that for the primary students also. The benefit of this is that we're able to build the capacity in-house, provide student needs where they're in the least restrictive environment, which is our task from the state to be able to do that. And allow the students to be in their home school, which is a very big deal. By adding this, it's much safer for all of the students, improve the level of safety in all of the classrooms, as well as with the students being here, we're not having to go to out-of-district placement. We can meet their needs here. So it's very exciting that we're able to do that, and we've seen yes, the needs are huge, but the staff has really rallied together, and students are showing some great progress from that. Any questions?
Can you just say a little bit more about the social emotional concerns that you have, the nature of them, and
So I can't get too specific because of confidentiality, but if I speak generally, we're seeing a lot of students coming with trauma in their background, which for some students it might look like aggression, but it's students who've been exposed to things that are really very challenging. And so they need help with social emotional, might be coping skills, it might be ability to self-regulate. That's kind of some of the things that they're working on. They have something called zones of regulation that they work on, so students are aware of how they're feeling at each time and how to work through that and de-escalate themselves. That's kind of the overall goal. Joyce, did you have a question?
I guess I'm curious to see whether there would be any interest in looking at options or alternatives to responsive classroom. We have heard from some of the teachers that it's not that effective, and so I guess it very well could be, but there are other options out there. Probably Megan and Michael probably could speak better, more on point to this.
Yeah, I mean, I think before doing that, or along with doing that, I think I want to know a little bit more about how, the issues, but also how well responsive classroom is being implemented. A lot of times they hear that about programs in general, that they're not working, and then you dig a little deeper, and then you find out that they're just not being implemented well. So it's hard to know if something isn't effective, whether it's that implementation or the program itself is just not effective for the nature of the problem.
I would say with all due respect, there are certain, no matter what program you implement, the level of needs of the students that I'm referencing, it's not going to make a difference. That's not the students that we're targeting. This is beyond the needs of what, responsive classroom is going to address the needs of majority of the students. But in any of the different programs, whether it's, there are different ones out there, positive behavior support, there's always a certain percentage that have more intense needs that cannot be met through any of those programs. And that's why we're building a specialized program for that. It's a good question, but in this case, it would not make a difference for that.
For that particular population.
For that population.
For
the broader
majority
majority
of the population. I wonder if it would be worthwhile taking a look to see, how well we are implementing responsive classroom and whether we should be looking at options other than responsive classroom.
Right, well, I think that this gets to the whole idea of the classroom safety kind of group, because I think there's like several different issues, right?
Yeah.
There's what's the goal of responsive classroom and what outcome are we looking at? There's also the safety in the classroom may have nothing at all to do with responsive classroom, may have to do with the fact that we've been trying to keep more kids in the classroom, and some of the changes by adding other classrooms to help give kids more support is going to help the classroom. But I think
So
that was the
the
goal
task
of getting
force.
this task force together, was to sort of look globally at classroom behavior, what have the trends been, and then what can we do? And I think the issue was, we heard loud and clear during teacher contract negotiations, we heard it in parent surveys, and so the idea of putting off making any changes until we can get a group together and go over this, I think we had some success last year with the 6th grade or the upper grades. And so I think, what you're doing and to kind of address some of these concerns while we sort of figure out how to move forward is outstanding.
And the ultimate goal is always to help the students build these skills so that then they can go back into the general ed setting. And we're finding success with that in the upper grades. So if we start it when students are younger, we can build those skills at an earlier age and hopefully get them back in the classroom.
So that also raises the question that are our classroom teachers adequately trained to handle trauma? Have a trauma lens to know how to maybe help those students that do come back. So maybe they're doing much better, but if they don't have a good transition into a space that they understand that as well, it might be hard for them. So
We have had some professional development with that. We've also explored that in our PDAC committee about looking into doing additional with that.
yeah.
Okay.
Calendar, sure. So in your packets or online, you have the draft of the 2021 student calendar for our district, our school. Again, just a reminder, so this is again being done in each of the BOA districts during the course of the month of November. And then we'll be coming as a superintendent group, sharing some of those reflections and then bringing back the calendar for your approval in December. What I would mention about the calendar here is that it is very similar, if not identical, in its concepts and the different kinds of days we have to the calendar we are in right now. So we are starting in this calendar, this calendar starts the Wednesday, the 26th of August. That's the same starting date for all the BOA districts, including Amity. Each district has some PD days before that first day, whether it's 2 or 3 days. Our September schedule mirrors, we have Yom Kippur off on the 28th. October 12th, and I'm looking now at Amity and Woodbridge have always had Columbus Day off as a no school day, so that continues, and so those two mirror. October 9th is a minimum day for students, a full day for staff, and that's where we're having 2 hours of professional development time afforded to our staff, both certified and non-certified, on that afternoon. That is the same as the Amity calendar as well. November, again, there's commonalities. On November 3rd, Election Day is a full day professional development for both us and Amity. The 25th of November, historically here, has been and will continue to be, at least in this draft, a day for early release. It's a staff professional development day alone. There's no students on the 25th. Amity does have students on the 25th. Theirs is a minimum day for students. December, it's the same early release on the 23rd and the same December break. January is the same from last year to this year, and it's the same as Amity calendar. February again mirrors what we're doing now, plus what Amity is doing, and the 12th again is very similar to the October 9th. February 12th is a minimum day for students, but a full day for teachers and staff for 2 hours of additional professional learning time. We mirror Amity in March as well. 19th is a full day professional development day for all the districts actually in BOA region. Same April vacation, same Good Friday, same Memorial Day in May, and the last day of school for us in this draft calendar is the 9th. Amity has the last day is the 8th because they have fewer teacher days in their overall calendar, and that day earlier for them is because they have school the day before Thanksgiving. So that's a real broad brush of the calendar. Again, the big takeaways are this calendar is similar, if not almost identical, to what we're doing this year in terms of the different days and how they're allocated. It also mirrors the Amity schedule almost to a T, which I think has been brought up in the past in terms of helpful for families, whether they be families at Beecher or families at the middle high school level, where there could be some coordination that benefits families. So let me stop there, and you may have some observations or questions.
I have one question. So I know we switched to the start date. It used to be a Monday, and we started doing the Wednesday, which I like, actually, giving them a shorter week. But usually when we do that, there's Labor Day is the following week. So it's a 3-day week, then a 4-day week, then a 5-day week. So just pointing out that this next year, because of the way the days fall, it would be a 3-day week, a 5-day week, and then a 4-day week. So just trying to think of the best interest of the kids. I just want to raise that to the group to be mindful of it, because I do like the idea of the 3 days, the 4 days, and the 5 days, thinking just kind of getting back into it from summer. So, I don't know.
Just one, so that's a very good observation, and one thing I would just mention is if we decided to bump that all 1 week later, it would make our last day of school June 16th, which
gives you no latitude for what's to camp.
It's getting a little late, and then if there's a lot of snow days, it also bumps into our summer programs. So it's an interesting dilemma this year.
Right. Well, the summer programs don't start usually until at least the last week, right, of June.
Of June, right? But you could. There have been.
It only gives a week wiggle room.
Right.
Yeah.
We did one year have kids not come to the last few days of school because camp started. It was the year we went like a ridiculous. It was when we still had February vacation.
Oh, that's funny.
And we were like almost going to June 30th or something. I mean, it was absurd.
Yeah.
So once upon a time, did we ever have a full week in February?
Yes.
Or was that,
Yes.
Oh yeah. For years. We only got rid of it. It was the year of like massive snow like we hadn't had. And we literally went until, I think we had the hurricane that year too. We were hit with just everything. We had days off in October. We had a snowstorm following the hurricane. It was a really bad year, and I think we went until June 29th. I mean, it was some absurd date. And the problem was, we talked about getting rid of one of the vacations, but everyone had, we had parents vote, which vacation do you want to get rid of, February or April?
Also, what happens?
Keep both.
Right. I think what happens also is just for instructional purposes, and I know this has come up in the past. So what are the months that are most likely to have snow? So January and February are probably your 2 biggest snow months. And so what has happened also, and I can think back over the decades of my career in other districts where this has been back or forth. Is it a full week or is it only a long weekend? Is that you tend to have a day here and there in January, a day here this week, a day there, and all of a sudden you have 4 snow days, and all of a sudden
now you get a week
now we have a whole week off. Wow, we don't really need a whole week off right now. We just had, and it's you don't know unless you have a crystal ball which weather's going to be. So that's part of the thinking that has kind of taken over in these kind of situations.
There's also some statewide calendar requirements.
There was, and that kind of got
way late.
Yeah.
We tried to add February vacation back in for
It'd be nice.
several years. Yeah, no, well, certainly, look, we're looking at the calendar now. If people feel like February vacation is a good time off, we can certainly suggest it back to Bo. I don't know that they'll change their mind, but I know we had a petition a few years ago to get the February vacation back, so.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah, and a petition went to Amity too, to get February vacation back.
You can start it.
I might have pushed some people towards it. I would never start a petition as a board member.
I'd be supportive of that, but I don't know if other people would.
This is, we're not voting on the calendar yet,
Right,
just,
right,
we're
yeah.
giving
Yeah.
feedback, so I don't know if people,
I don't know, is it a motion?
There's no motion tonight. I mean, it's just.
well, she could make
it's-
if she wanted to see if the whole board would support adding back February vacation, she could make a motion and then that would just direct you to go back and make the suggestion.
And what that would look like is, so if that happened, just so you know, so if I came back with that or some other, something if someone wanted to change, the other three districts say, you know something, our people loved the long weekend and didn't want the whole week, then I was most likely to come back to you and say, I would share that, and I would share,
We got outvoted.
just to say somewhat consistent, this seems to be the way we're trying to work regionally. So I would certainly bring it back, any kind of comments people have or whatever, and go from there.
I would make the argument that we should get rid of February and April and go to a March vacation.
Well, that is,
Because I'm just saying, it's it's actually, I don't know, I feel like it's a long period of time not to have a break off. And then you have April, and then I feel like everyone checks out in May already, and then we have school in June. But
And you could travel when everyone else.
when everyone's in
traveling.
college, I know. Full disclosure, I have college kids. They don't have February or April vacation.
March, spring break.
That's interesting.
Way to get feedback from the community about what people actually want. We could have a poll everywhere going, so that people who are watching the live stream could be voting.
Yeah, right.
We would have-
Call 1-900.
We would have 6 votes in by now. But I mean, like, it would be nice if there was an easy way. I mean, I think parents would actually have strong opinions and would love to do a one question survey that just, would you prefer A, B, or C? I'm curious.
I would
We
say
all
so.
have personal opinions. I have no idea what everybody else.
I would say, so the funny thing was when we did the survey, we had to
Very
get, it was pretty much, well, it was only 2 vacations. We said, do you want to get rid of February, or do you want to get rid of April? And it was 50-50.
Well, that's a different question
And
than
then-
how you build
yeah.
a schedule out.
Yeah.
And whether you want to rather talk about those extra periods.
And then the issue you run into secondarily is teachers, if their school district is not on the same calendar as ours, now their kids are home, which is why the state tried to go to more of a universal calendar, was to recognize the fact that teachers have kids, and if their kids are on a different calendar, it makes it really hard for families to do vacations at all.
So what do other schools do?
Almost everyone does this kind of,
Oh, they do.
yeah. I mean, this calendar is fairly in line with what the state calendar had been. I think a couple of towns went
Yeah.
back and added February vacation back in, that's what I've heard.
The ACES calendar, ACES, our regional service center, who kind of steered the process up until a year or so ago. They took the state calendar. Well, the state calendar was sort of an optional thing, but it was there, but you didn't have to, but it was suggested, and this is what the model would look like on that. I think the survey idea is an interesting idea. I think the missing part of the survey thing, of surveying parents, would be they wouldn't have the ability to enjoy the conversation around the table. Like, adding. If the question is just adding February vacation, didn't realize it's going to go 3 more days in June now, or.
But that has to be embedded
you know,
in the conversation, in the.
Yeah, I mean, so
question,
it's a tricky. It is what it is.
So do we want to consider putting out a survey to?
I don't think we have the time to survey this year for this calendar.
No, I
Right?
see.
I mean, I think it's a reasonable thing to maybe, do at some point for giggles.
David could write it.
I'm happy with a one question survey, like 2 seconds. The technology is easy. I mean, like, to me, it's also an interesting question of process and engagement, of how do we engage the families in the community. And this is not a group of however many people are sitting at this table making decisions, but everybody feels connected to the process. So we already get plenty of communication from the school. It shouldn't be terribly hard to add into one of the emails that goes out, here's your one question survey of the week. Let us know what you think. Single link, single question.
So that can be done very easily. So let me ask you the question as a board. So there's a couple of things. One is, so if it comes back and says, we want a February vacation, okay, and the other three BOA districts say, we don't want it. What do you want to do on that? And then the other part of that is,
I think there needs to be a
Doesn't it simply mean that we get the days off and they don't?
So it's
Well,
more
I
than that.
think-
We
Yeah,
have
there's
bus contracts.
transportation contract
And
that
the
we
other-
have to consider.
so the other part of this
Then we'll be
also.
picking up any kids. It's not like that. It's not
No,
like
no,
we
but
pick
it
up
No, but we would have
additional
to,
cost
you can't
to
have
the
less
district.
school days than the other two. You still have to have your mandated 281 school.
Yeah.
181.
Right.
181.
So we'll have to extend the summer out 3 days where they won't. So we'll have 3 extra
Right,
days.
so we
of
would,
vacation.
they would end on the 9th, we would end on the 15th or something. You know, we would go longer, and so we would have to pay for buses on days that.
I'm not suggesting you can't do the survey. Please understand that. What I'm also, that has not been discussed by the BOA superintendents as a option, a plan, a strategy. So right off the bat, we do that. I don't know what the response will be from the Amity board or Amity administration regarding, gee, we didn't have a chance to do that, and I don't know what that sets up in terms of. So I do think probably in an ideal world, it's probably something we want to do as we flip to the following calendar if we want to do that. But I'm just laying out, the dilemmas of, so what do you do if you get a certain answer and it's different than the other 3 districts? Or how do you work in conjunction with the Amity District 7 through 12 when they haven't?
So maybe our request is to go back and suggest that Woodbridge in the future would like to consider that all BOA do a survey to see what the parents want in terms of vacation times. And maybe that's the.
I would guess that families care about this issue.
Again, I think that what you'll find, at least from, there are some families that care a lot, and many families that don't care about that. But I think personally, the step should be asking BOA, as they're looking around, to say, maybe we should all survey all the parents so that everyone feels like they're engaged in the process and we don't feel like we're doing something to undermine the process.
Yeah,
All right.
I
And you can
like
tell
that
me. All right. All right, Bob.
Second.
All right. So
I would just bring up the issue. Just say there was some concern around our table about the calendar and when vacations are, and
we
that.
want to hear the voice of parents, basically,
Right.
what we're saying.
And that since
How do we do
the
that?
calendar can be manipulated days here and there, we'd like to suggest that we come up with a survey written by David Ross that can be used by all BOA districts to gauge kind of what parents think would work best for their families.
Not for this year, but we're talking about for.
I think it would probably be for the calendar for the following 21, 22. I don't think that will, but I would bring it up whenever you meet with them next time. Suggested.
Okay.
I did ask for a February vacation for like the last 8 years that I've been on the board. I'm very excited that this is. I have no kids here anymore, but I think I do.
Persevere.
In fact, I think I abstained from most calendar votes for a little while.
But you're
Right,
still in the Amity system, right? So
right. Could still
we're all
have.
the same.
I'm running out of time now. All right. Okay. Upcoming meeting presentations. Budget.
So the main menu item for December is the budget presentation for the 2021 budget. So I don't know if anybody has anything they wanted to. And as you know, that we will be presenting a draft of that on the previous Monday, on the 9th, at our finance subcommittee meeting.
And even if you're not on finance, you're welcome to come if you want to be there for budget discussion. Okay. Facilities committee?
Yeah, we met on the 8th this month. We reviewed those facilities report. It was immediately noted that it was a great record-keeping tool that didn't exist in the past, so that's a big kudos to Vito and his team. Great way to organize the projects and communicate it to the board, so that was a positive. Obviously, the heating changeover took place, unfortunately, to the chagrin of most of us. Replacement of the chiller control panel. There's an issue with the PA system that is known. A couple of different groups are working on it, trying to come up with a solution what to do there. There's also some capital
Can you
projects.
just for your statement, too much to our chagrin, that's because that means it's getting cold.
It's getting cold, yes.
There was
I'm
nothing
sorry.
bad.
It
I
was-
just
it
saw
was,
some faces. I didn't want
yes.
anyone to think there was a problem.
Climate related.
It just means it's cold.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
All right.
The exterior door replacement to the tune of 16K is starting to take place. Unit ventilators are being looked at for 42,000. Some replacement, some repair, taking the needs of the worst ones. 5,000 for the site assessment, which Bob referenced, looking at some tree and branch removal around the school. Pool door replacement for 7K. And also is known that the town lighting project's underway to add some efficiency to these light bulbs. Probably around mid to end of December it'll take place here. So, thank you for your motion.
How long does it take to recoup the cost on the light bulbs?
That was a pretty good topic of discussion. We're going to be watching utility bills pretty closely just to see. So there should be some instant savings.
Is there a budget for this? Are we getting light bulbs?
I believe
I know
the
historically,
town.
right?
The town is paying for it.
Yeah.
We have actually a meeting with Tony tomorrow afternoon to talk a little bit about the budget implications in terms of, okay, so when do you start recouping? When does your budget start showing a benefit from this? So we don't have. We're sort of the recipients of a good thing here. It was released here by the town, initiated by the town.
Okay. Any questions for facilities? Finance committee?
We are showing a projected roughly 70,000 surplus, even though there have been unanticipated needs that we've had to address. We have mentioned a couple of times that the finance committee meeting usually takes place right before the Board of Ed meeting, which the next one is on December 16th. However, we have moved forward the finance committee meeting to December 9th so that we would give 1 week's notice, or at least 1 week to the board members to review the budget, the draft budget, and ask questions if they have any. We will be going into executive session after this meeting to discuss the voluntary early retirement plan program. And that's it.
Awesome. Questions for Joyce? Curriculum committee.
Curriculum committee, there is an overview report for the past year on the work of the curriculum committee. In creating that report, I had some thought that we should consider moving the curriculum overview to May so that we look more at, or June, so that we look at the entire academic year rather than looking back at last academic year. So I would propose that a shorter, abbreviated curriculum committee overview be given either in the May meeting or the June meeting, and then we institute giving the curriculum committee overview report each May or June. So that report you can find in e-meeting, and on October 17th, the curriculum committee met. Ms. Sherman presented on summer curriculum work, and Ms. Merrill presented on summer programming. Our next curriculum committee meeting will be this coming Thursday at 4:30. I invite all members, especially new board members, to attend because Ms. Mammon will be presenting an overview on special education, including the TAG program, and it's important for us to understand our requirements in terms of budgeting and the implications it has in staffing and budget preparation. That's about it for curriculum.
Questions for me?
Yeah, I don't know if this belongs in curriculum, it may or may not, but would it be worthwhile undergoing an exercise to see what we can take off of teachers' plates without it really making a difference, because there were a couple of comments at the Budget Task Force Committee meeting where people were saying, you know, we keep on getting asked to do more and more but less and less. And so I don't know if anyone else would be interested in just having, you know, teachers really think about what they do. And if it doesn't really move the needle, and this is not about shifting responsibility to someone else, it's just about eliminating whatever it is that they're doing and not making that big of a difference, then that might be helpful. So I'd be interested in hearing what others think about that. That may or may not be curriculum, I don't know.
Can you give an example of some things you're thinking about?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not really pinpointing anything. I don't
She's
have.
saying that maybe the teachers know something that is preventing them from teaching that maybe we could consider eliminating, and maybe it's a policy-driven thing, it might be a curriculum-driven thing.
But it
But if
might
they're-
be nice to have, but not absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
And, you know, given this kind of climate where there's just a lot that people have to do.
Right, or something that's totally irrelevant now, that was
Yeah, exactly.
in 10 years ago, that
Right.
we're done, you know, we have all this other stuff
Like
coming
abacus
forward,
checks.
so there's, what was it?
Like abacus checks, you know, they have to do their quarterly abacus check. It's no longer relevant. Something like that.
Right, stuff we wouldn't even know to ask about.
Are you thinking about what's on teachers' plates regarding curriculum expectations or regarding other things that teachers are responsible
It could
for?
be curriculum, but it doesn't have to be curriculum. It's just whatever a teacher does in the day in the life of a teacher.
The administrative burden, as we call it in healthcare. Administrative hassle. I mean, I think maybe.
I think where that could start is, you know, we have regular monthly meetings with leadership. So the administrative team and the WEA leadership have regular monthly meetings, and it's something we can certainly, you know, bring up as a topic, and have that conversation there. You know, it's actually a conversation that's probably happened actually in small bits and pieces about specific items along the way, you know, over time. You know, the dilemma of society, whether it be in schools or whether it be in industry or whether it be, you know, just in family life, is that there seems to be more things and not less things. And so you know, it is a struggle, and it's a goal. It really is a goal. It's a good goal to try to achieve some kind of more simplicity, or combining things, or some kind of, you know, interweaving things. You know, teacher responsibilities are enormous, and administrative responsibilities are enormous for the people who, you know, administer the building as well. You know, it's teaching the content, it's communication with families, it's going to meetings that are about individual students, it's committee work. So there's a lot. There's a lot of dimensions to it, and it does seem that sometimes we actually, I think, Mrs. Sherman, I'll put you on the spot here, or Mrs. Mammon, Mrs. Merrill, for that matter. Have we done some combining of some committees, or have we gotten rid of some committees recently where we've tried to think, okay, why are we doing this when we could actually combine it with something else?
That's true.
Like I'm thinking of the
Some tools for
the
schools.
technology, the adaptive technology committee.
Assistive Technology Committee.
Assistive
We
Technology.
said that's just going to be as needed because they're reaching out to the resources of within their, you know, the special education department. They come see us for ideas and support anyhow. So it wasn't a need for an extra meeting unless something big came up that we needed the committee for.
And we also merged wellness and tools for schools because there was so much overlap in the conversations that were happening that we smushed the two together, and we've been operating quite effectively that way this year.
We also have plenty of committees where we don't meet every month just for the sake of meeting. And we looked at what we had done in the past and we scaled down, and our calendars aren't as full. So there are some committees that only meet 5 times a year instead of every month.
Is there any policies that are currently enacted that are from previous boards of ed that when we're doing our policy reviews, that maybe we could just say, this isn't a mandated policy, let's cancel it.
I think we have very few policies in our book that are not state-driven policies.
I know of one that's not.
That's not state-driven.
It's not state-driven.
I wonder which one that is.
Recommended.
State recommended.
I
I think the issue in all areas of compliance is that rarely do regulations come down from the state with a concomitant reduction in a regulation, right? I mean, that's the issue that comes up. I mean, I do think that it is a helpful process to engage the teaching staff to say, or any, non-certified or certified staff, to have a dialogue where it says, if you're doing something that seems not necessary in some way, like, what's that level of communication? How does that get communicated back? And is there a process to look at those things? And maybe it's just a matter of, communicating with the staff to say, if there are things that we can consolidate, if there are things that we can do away with, if there are processes that you think we can do better. I think that was one of the reasons of bringing a budget task force, was to say, go deeper to people who are doing things every day and see if there's something that pops out, and a similar thing related to the administrative burdens of teaching.
So I mean, if nothing else, I would initiate one of our next meetings with the union leadership team and the administrative leadership team on talking a little bit about that area. It is a dilemma, because even in the last couple of years, we've had mandated training that has come down from the state, and so the training is just one spoke in the wheel of things that people are required to do, and it's on their plate. So
It may be the case that,
There
there isn't, but I think just giving the teachers license to think about these
Sure.
issues, because when is the last time that we said, oh, I'm gonna take this off your plate, right? It just probably never happens.
Although they did consolidate some committees.
Consolidate
Because
some,
you're right,
yeah, but
getting rid of
not
administrative
everyone's
stuff,
on the
right?
committee,
Okay. All right. Policy committee.
So we did not meet for policy. We're on hold for policy. Waiting for a few things moving forward. I know with Bob's leave, we were planning to put a hold on it for a bit. So I think we're planning to meet again in January.
Right.
I don't know, did we want to,
Do we have to,
we do have one.
one policy to act
This
on?
right.
Has that been already a 30-day review? Is that why?
Yes, that's been sitting.
Okay, so it's been sitting. Okay.
It's one of your motions that you have here tonight.
So I will move that we adopt policy 4112.5, security check fingerprinting as revised.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes. Thank you. Cape liaison report. Bet you have wonderful stuff.
Yes.
Are there any awards?
Yeah, they did have some awards for different things.
We heard about them
award.
already.
Yes, yes. So the one thing, just to add on, I know Bob already gave a bit of a report. I think a couple of things is, well, one thing I have to tout on is for the December 10th new board member orientation. If anyone who's new would be interested in doing that, that would be an awesome opportunity to go and hear from Cave, and it's great to kind of, they bring good perspective to things and some interesting trainings, and a lot of times have quite inspiring people there, I would say. That's just a reminder, is December 10th, which is a Tuesday, and I believe it is all day. If folks are interested, to let Marsha know. Make sure the funds are encumbered for that. So the Cave Caps I thought it was interesting. I know Joyce, I don't know if you have any thoughts for that. I think two of my takeaways, I did very much enjoy Dr. Kay's talk in the morning. And kind of to piggyback on what Bob was saying before, he does have two TEDx talks, and one is exploring the double-edged sword of diversity. So I don't know if anyone's interested, but I think probably what we saw that morning was similar to where that talk went, and he just brings a new perspective of I don't know, he's inspiring when he was speaking, and it just was very interesting. So just would encourage folks to maybe check that out. That was really good. And then some of the breakout sessions were great. I think one of the things that I actually still need to check in with you about, Joyce, was one of the ones I went to, talked about different shared programs and services that other towns are doing. So it might inspire some thoughts for us with our other towns and see what we can come up with. Actually, one of the things I wanted to ask, this might be a stupid question because I don't know, but do we share costs for sped transportation?
When we are able to. So there's, I'm not sure if we have any right now. We have one, Mrs. Mammon, we have one special education shared transportation with Amity right now?
We have one shared with Amity.
So in the past,
Okay.
whenever we've been able to do that, where students may be going to the same outplacement facility, the two special education directors compare notes at the beginning of the year, during the year, changes happen. Oh, do you have a student going there? Because we just have a student who just is going to enter. So yes.
Yeah, okay. Because I know we've talked about potentially sharing services, but transportation. So, and is that open with Bethany and Orange as well, or just Amity?
Yeah.
We would do that
It
with
is.
them
Okay,
as
so it's
well.
the four.
Yes.
So it just depends on where they are. And we're actually meeting and talking about any areas that we can share. So we'll be meeting, we met recently and we're going to meet again in the summer and have an intensive time to look and see what we can share.
Right, great.
That's with Amity or with all?
All of them, the whole BOA.
So, but yes, would encourage folks if they're able to go next year. It's a great conference. I don't know if you had anything to add, Joyce, for your.
No, I also was quite taken with the keynote speaker.
Yeah, it was great.
Let's see, public comment we're up to. No, okay. Then we are gonna go into executive session. We will come back into public session for a quick vote on just the updated voluntary early retirement program, but you don't all have to stay if you do not want to. You're free to leave. So I need a motion.
Or if they wish to stay, if they wish to be out in the hallway, we will
Come
come
and get
back
them.
in when we
Yep.
go back into open session.
Yeah. So I need a motion to move into
I move
executive
that we
session.
move to executive session.
Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Take 5 minutes to turn off the camera, clear the